Well, hello again, beloved confirmands, and congratulations, you have made it to video B for the third week of class. If you have not yet watched video A, you're going to want to go back and do that, because this one will make a little more sense after getting the overview from video A. And yeah, so if you didn't do that, watch video A, go do that, come back to this video like tomorrow or something like that, because you'll want to settle a bit after video A. Then come to watch this, and then after we're done with this today, maybe tomorrow or the next day, follow up with video C. And then we'll be done with the videos for week number 3, for class number 3. But yeah, all right, so are you ready? We are going to get back into the commandments. So let's briefly review really quickly. The commandments in general, right? Where do they come from? Well, as the story goes, they were given to God's people, the Hebrews, back when they were escaping Egyptian slavery, when God was liberating them from their slavery under Egypt. That was maybe 1300 BCE, before the Common Era, give or take. But these may be rooted in other historical periods as well. But we're not going to get too much into those details. But as the story goes, they were out wandering in the wilderness, in the desert, during those 40 years from after Egyptian slavery, before they settled again in the Promised Land. And Moses had gone up to the mountain, Mount Sinai, and had this experience with God. And he came down, and his face was shining, and he was glowing, and he had the tablets, right? The stone tablets, if you remember that. And those first 3 commandments that we've already covered, those have to do with our relationship with God. We had the commandments of, you shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make wrongful use of God's name. And then remember the Sabbath day. Keep it holy. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to get into the final 7 commandments. Commandments 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And all the rest of these have to do with our relationship with our neighbors. But hold up, because if the first 3 are about loving God, and the last 7 are about loving neighbor, does that remind you of anything? Loving God, loving neighbor? Sounds like what Jesus talks about as the sum of all the commandments, a couple places in the gospel stories. Love God, love neighbor. How about that? So anyways, that's neither here nor there, but let's get now into the nitty-gritty. We're going to do commandments number 4, 5, and 6 today. These commandments are focused on people who are closest to us, like family. They are commandments like honor your parents. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. So let's jump in. 4th commandment. Honor your parents. Honor your parents. Well, I imagine that this commandment has probably been harder and harder for you the last couple of years. Honor your parents. So let's start with the word honor, first of all. What does honor mean? I Googled it, and it seemed that the word honor means to hold in high regard and maybe to respect. Honor. But why? Why do that? I know that this is a period of life where it is normal for us in our adolescence to pull apart from our parents and start to become our own people, individuals, if you will. But that doesn't mean that we forget this commandment. So, why would we hold our parents in high regard? Why respect them? Well, one of the ways we understand our parents is that they are God's representatives in our lives. God's representatives for us. That does not mean they're perfect by any means, but they can lead us and they can help us grow. And when parents are functioning healthily and in good ways, that's exactly what they do. Sometimes, even when they try their hardest, they mess things up. All of our parents do. All people who are parents mess things up from time to time. But even if and even when our parents mess things up for us, we still have the opportunity to show them how important they are in our lives, which is a cool thing because it continues to build a healthy, positive relationship between us. And that's important because family matters, relationships matter. But there is one big caveat we should be aware of here. Because if any of us find ourselves in a family that is abusive and that does not love you in the way that is necessary for good growth, that's not okay. And it doesn't mean that you have to respect every decision your parents make and stay in that relationship. Sometimes parents break that relationship, and that means we have to find somewhere else to live and be, and that's okay. That happens. It's hard, but it happens. So remember that. Keep that in mind. But oftentimes parents, right? When they're operating well, they are loving us, and from the beginning of our lives, they're here to care for us, and they teach us, and they love us, and they want the best for us. And so, as they work to do what's good and important, even if it's hard and challenging, we can be a part of that. We can be a part of that. So, the question is, how will you honor your family, your parents, the adults in your life this week? How will you let them know that they're doing a good job? That's the fourth commandment. Now the fifth. Okay. So don't murder anybody, right? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Because God does not want violence for us. God wants to deliver us from violence and defend us from violence, protect us from violence. Even if we've done wrong, that cycle of violence must be broken. Now, murder, right? We always think of that in terms of a very kind of like shooting someone or something really violent like that. But sometimes we hurt others. We can murder others with our words. There's that old phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Well, that's not true. Because words hurt. Just like actions hurt. And sometimes not acting and letting something happen that we could have prevented, sometimes that can hurt too. Sometimes we hurt people without meaning to, without intending to. But that doesn't mean damage hasn't been done. So how might we use our words to heal? If we think of this commandment not just as a prohibition against behaviors, but what if it's a suggestion to use words in a good way? What might that look like? All right, sixth commandment. We're making our way through today. Thanks for sticking with me. The sixth commandment is, you shall not commit adultery. Adultery. Adultery has to do with our most important, most intimate, closest, oftentimes romantic relationships. These are like the people whom we might marry. Think about it in that respect. Because the thing is, when we're close to someone like that, when our lives become so intertwined, we can hurt people really significantly when they let us into their lives. And so we need to be really careful about the ways we act when we're in a relationship like that. And it really boils down to, if you commit to being intimate in certain ways with just one person, the person you're most interested in, then you must keep your word. And there is no room for being intimate like that with other people if you haven't agreed upon that. So we have to be clear about what it means then to be intimate with those whom we love the most, and talk to them about what our expectations are and what their expectations are. And faithfulness can look like a lot of things, but you've got to know what that looks like for you. And this may not be a huge part of your life right now, but it may very well become in the years ahead. So we take this very seriously. No adultery. If we marry someone, if we're committed to someone, and we love them, then that means something. And you've got to know what that means. So, no adultery. That's the sixth commandment. Well, there you have it, beloved confirmands. We've covered a lot now in a couple days. We've got commandments 4, 5, and 6 under our belt, so to speak. Honor your parents. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. So sit on those for a few days and come back soon for video C.